Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My name's Matt Rosu, Dean and Professor of Economics at Susquehanna University. This video, we have a real treat. Timothy Sandefur from the Goldwater Institute joined me for a conversation on the right to earn a living. Now, you could actually see a copy of a book by the same name that Mr. Sandefur wrote several years ago, and he's actually also been to the Susquehanna University campus to talk about this issue and other issues. We have a great conversation a little bit about Mr. Sandefur before we start. He is a vice president at the Goldwater Institute and the Duncan Chair in Constitutional Government. He litigates to promote economic liberty, private property, free speech, other things that I actually hold pretty near and dear, why I'm excited to have him on today's video. He is the author of 8 different books. So in addition to The Right to Earn a Living, his most recent book is Freedom's Furies. Recommend you check that out. That came out in 2022. And I will put a link to his bio and some of his books in the description in case you'd like to check out any of Mr. Sandefur's writings. Without further ado, let's go to the interview. Well, thank you, Tim, for joining. For those who have been at Susquehanna for a while, or students who happen to be here, you might remember that Timothy Sandefur came to Susquehanna University campus to actually talk a little bit about the same topic we're talking about today, which is the right to earn a living. So, Tim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I remember that was right after the book had just come out.
It was, we were talking about how time goes a little bit too quick.
Yeah.
When discussing this ahead of time. But within the past year, really, it was about a year ago, I started trying to reach a wider audience through YouTube videos and expanding the channel. I just thought it might be nice to have a conversation there for hopefully a lot of people who did not see the original talk or might be interested in the idea of the right to earn a living. So on your book cover, or like on the book, when you go to Amazon to buy it, I love the passage here that you say, and I'm hoping you might elaborate a little bit, but it says that the right to earn a living, and then in quotes, it's so basic and obvious that it didn't need to be mentioned in the Bill of Rights. And you describe this as a fundamental human right. Hoping you could elaborate on this for those watching, and why is the right to earn a living so important?
Yeah, the reason I mentioned that is because you often will encounter people who will say, well, how come this isn't listed in the Bill of Rights? And it's not just, the right to earn a living or something like that. Basically, any kind of right. You will often hear people say, well, that's not in the Bill of Rights. And of course, that really misunderstands that the role that the Bill of Rights was intended to play. The people who wrote the Bill of Rights never expected it to list all of our rights. That's what the Ninth Amendment specifically says. The Ninth Amendment says this is not a comprehensive list of rights. And in fact, a lot of people were opposed to even trying to write a Bill of Rights precisely for that reason. And if you think about the number of things that are vitally important to freedoms that you and I take for granted that are not mentioned anywhere in the Bill of Rights, for example, the right to have a family is never mentioned in the Bill of Rights. The right to choose to have a family at all, the right to marry, or the right to not marry. Those things aren't mentioned in the Bill of Rights. And the reason why isn't because they're not important. It's because they're so important that the authors of the Constitution didn't imagine that anybody would deny that such rights exist. Of course, they lived before 20th century totalitarianism, right? But in any event, the right to earn a living by using your skills and knowledge to provide for yourself and your family, economic opportunity, was a key part of freedom as understood by the classical liberals who wrote the Constitution. Their term for it was the pursuit of happiness, which is the phrase they used in the Declaration of Independence to refer to your right to obtain a livelihood and your right to retain the fruits of your labor once you've acquired them. And the Constitution is replete with protections for this. For example, just yesterday, actually, I was writing something where I counted up the number of times private property is referred to in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. The Constitution, or the Bill of Rights, uses the term property specifically twice, But then it also refers to houses in two other provisions, and it refers to papers and effects, and it even refers to keeping arms, which means the right to own things. So the right to ownership is a central part of the Constitution, and the right to obtain property through your own hard work is also.
Okay, yeah, that's fascinating. I hadn't thought through the private property, like parts, the right to your own labors, the right to keep what you'd worked for.
Well, think about it this way. When Jefferson was writing the Declaration of Independence in 1776, he looked at a brand new document, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, which had been published a month earlier, for inspiration. And the Virginia Declaration of Rights has some slightly different language from the Declaration of Independence. It refers to your right to acquire and possess property and to pursue and obtain happiness and safety. What is that, if not the right to earn a living by providing for yourself and obtaining and acquiring property?
Yeah, that's a great.
I hope you enjoyed this video. This is actually only part of the conversation. Part 2, 3, and 4 will be coming out soon. Please like and subscribe, especially subscribe, and you'll get notified when the next videos come out. See you in the next video.